Star Wars Tabletop Gaming is proudly supported by Gatekeeper Games, your key to gaming unplugged. A tabletop games store offering a friendly atmosphere for people to buy and play their games in the north of Fitzroy.
Welcome to episode 7 of Star Wars Tabletop Gaming. In this episode, I'm going to give you a bit of a review and a bit of a rundown of Knights of Dice Tabula Rasa Desert Range. Essentially, what it looks like when it comes out of the pack, what I've done to Star Wars it up, and some details on how you can Star Wars up, that's the official term, your own desert residence and desert compound buildings to take them from what we have in front of us now, which is quite plain and quite basic, to something a bit more fancier. So, what we have here is Knights of Dice Tabula Rasa range. When you receive it in the mail, noting they have discounts on international shipping, I believe, this is what it looks like. So it comes flat pack, nice and easy, super simple stuff. The instructions are online, although I don't believe this range have instructions because they're pretty straightforward. I certainly didn't have any problem putting them together. So in front of us here we have a couple of different buildings. I think this is Residence 2 or 3, probably Residence 3. That's what it looks like. So it's quite boxy, quite simple. Okay, it's got windows. You can see the joins there. It's got roofs that come off. Sure. Okay, so you can place miniatures inside too, which is pretty cool. When your Stormtroopers and Rebel Troopers are fighting around the terrain, they'll be able to fight inside the buildings, which is nice. So that is your basic desert building. Let's get some miniatures in here for comparison. So what we have is here this is a standard Primaris Marine from Warhammer 40k. Now this guy is, I believe, about the same scale that we'll be playing with Star Wars Legion. So this guy will be perfect to give you a demonstration of how big this terrain is and how it's going to look with your miniatures. So this terrain is 28 millimeters. However, I don't get too picky about scale. A lot of people have been losing their mind about scale, and I think we all need to relax a little. So if you see here, old mate Primaris Marine is a little big to the doorway. He'd definitely need to stoop to get through there, but that's fine because he's meant to be a giant. Now your Stormtroopers, they might be about the same height. So look, the 28mm range, the Tabula Rasa range, might look a little small for your miniatures, but I wouldn't stress too much. Personally, I'll be using this village to represent a Jawa village. I figure they have to get out of the sandcrawlers, rest and repair at some stage. So I'm going to get a bunch of Jawa miniatures from Imperial Assault and kind of put them around the village and have droid parts and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's going to look really cool. Other things we have here are a marketplace. This is pretty cool. I've done this one just stock standard about how the instructions or how it's meant to look from the pictures. There you go. The roof comes off and it's got little shelves. Pretty cool. So I'm going to put a bunch of items and stuff. Maybe I'll wait till Legion comes out to do this one and put a bunch of weapons on the shelves and a bunch of droid parts to represent the Jawa's little trading post. That'll be cool. The roofs there have slots or whatever you want to call them, ridges, so that it sits nice and snug. But the second one of these, I'll actually be cutting up and doing something a bit different to make into a bit of a stable for maybe some vehicles, or a stable, a garage for some vehicles, or a stable for some alien creatures. So we'll wait and see. This is kind of a warehouse building. It's got some archways, which is nice, breaks up the blockiness. And I'm debating whether to put something nice and big on top of here and, I don't know, make it into a comms center or who knows what. Yeah, Tabula Rasa range also has compounds, which are the big 2-story buildings. These are quite significant. So that Primaris up against these, I mean, yep. Nice and big there. So these have 2 stories, and the whole roof comes off. Look inside. Plenty of room to put your miniatures in there. Have some room-to-room battles. And then the second story actually has the roofs come off here too. So there you go. Cool stuff. So yeah, look, I really like it. It's meant to be super simple, super basic, so that you can kind of put your own creative flair onto the range and do with it whatever you want to, which is what I've done over here if we scroll to the right. So here we have some Tabula Rasa desert buildings that I've had my way with, and I've Star Wars'd up and got a bunch of different kits and played around with them a bit. So if you have a look, I can kind of show you what I've done. So I've got some little pipe things here, stuck them on, a bunch of domes on top for that good old Star Wars domey effect, because apparently all desert buildings need domes. I've put some rubble in the corners here, which I think will give it a bit of flavour and a bit of texture. And then just other little fidgets and widgets here and there. You want to stick something to the top of the roof so it makes it easy to lift up. I also put ladders on most of the buildings just to make alternate entries and different ways to get onto the roofs. And I think that's like a sprinkler top, maybe, something sprinkler related, as a bit of a vent on the back there. So a bunch of different parts. I got all of this stuff. I'll tell you about where I got all that stuff in a minute. But so that's that one there. This one I've got a little more extreme. So this is a compound, so I thought I'd go more fancy. I've gone for a bigger pipe because bigger equals better. And this little vent here, that one there, it's like an air conditioning unit, and a bit of a sneaky camera, if that comes into range. There you go. On the top there. So that actually all comes from one of Knights of Dice widget range. I think it's the air conditioning and surveillance, or whatever it's called, pack. And just that one there. Just a simple flat pack kit that comes with a bunch of different vents and security cameras and spotlights. And that kind of stuff. You can do different cool things with it. Other things I've done, once again, I've piped up and vented up there, because why not? And I've got this orange cable tie and stuck that on the back to represent some cables going along the back. And a sneaky ladder that I will only know about that will give me maneuver advantages in games. Once again, whoop, everything comes off inside. You've got the building. This one's kind of cool. It's got a building within a building. Get out. Whoa. Needs to not be on an angle. There we go. There you go. You can get to the lower story. Doop. What I've also done with this one is just use some offcuts to create kind of little, I don't know, walkway areas, barriers, if you will, little fancy stuff. Ooh, there we go. Another one here. Just to kind of, you want to make it look like it's been lived in, it's used. If you look closely to these buildings, what I've come and done is I've taken a sander or sandpaper to the edges as well to round all of them off. Because nothing says MDF terrain like sharp edges. That was the advice that Viv gave me when I picked the kits up. So it's something you'll want to do. Just shave those away with sandpaper. They come off super easy too. Some of the buildings I put doors in. And put little offcut bits on it just to make it a bit interesting and to break up kind of the flatness, which is what you want to do. Another little widget vent there at the back. This one here, I put a bunch of work into. He's pretty cool. So we got another cable tie there, another big dome on top, another door. This one's slightly ajar. Little seat or who knows what there, more rubble. And I actually got corks from a craft store. I think these are meant to be corks to go in little bottles. And I broke them up and just put them across the top. I have no idea what for, just looks cool. Vents, ladders, this one a bit broken, because why not? Cable ties, etc. So that is a few of the Tabula Rasa buildings, kind of Star Wars'd up with a bit of Star Wars flavour. And I think they've come up really well. The next step is obviously to take some filler to them and some sand/glue onto them and give them a bit of texture before then spray painting them and painting them up. So super excited about that. And now I'm going to show you what I've used to make those very simple buildings into some Star Warsy buildings. So if we come across here, here's pretty much everything I've used. So offcuts, these little bits here, these are actually used to poke bits out when you're putting them together, but I've used them for ladders. And all the stuff, when you poke out windows and get in, there we go, and the kind of slots that are used to put them together, get these little offcuts, which you can use to make lots of interesting patterns and different things. If you look at this one, actually, I've put a whole bunch of those offcuts around the edge of the little balcony area, or whatever you want to call it. There, just to break up the lines. And that's all you're looking to do. The different glues that you use, I used a quickset wood glue, which is nice and easy. I think it's like essentially PVA, but a stronger version. Got a big one of them. I got most of this stuff from Bunnings, actually. So the glue, all the cable ties, all the widgets, all from Bunnings. And I got a craft glue as well. The wood glue won't stick plastic to the MDF. This stuff will. I just got this from the craft store. Other things I use now, the domes. The domes, actually, it's lucky, it's Christmas. If you look here, one that I haven't cut, it's got the little connecty bit on top. And what these are actually baubles that you're meant to put on Christmas trees. And you're meant to put stuff inside them. But much better used as domes for Star Wars buildings. So I just cut the tops off and I've used them. And they've been perfect. Otherwise, you could get polystyrene bowls. But the issue, and cut them in half, which is a pain to begin with. But the issue there is that you then need to kind of cover them in PVA before you can actually spray paint them, and they're really light and they make horrible noises. I don't like them. I don't like working with polystyrene, so plastic all the way. These corks here, as I said, got them from a craft store. I've also, the rubble that you saw in the buildings before, that's actually just these corks broken up. And I've taken a pair of clippers to them and cut them up and whatnot and added them with some good old hobby sand to make that rubble. I'll be using that hobby sand mixed with the glue as well to give the buildings a bit of texture in certain areas. Other things I've used, so all of these little bits, things like this, all these little pipes, stuff like that, that's all from Bunnings, just in the kind of irrigation and plumbing / sprinkler system area. Each of these is like $1.99. I got a 4-pack of these cable ties for, I don't know, a few bucks to make those cool little cabley areas. I got some clear vinyl tubing, nice and cheap as well from Bunnings, which I haven't used yet, but I've got big plans for a bit of a water catchment system, maybe with a big tin. This little thing I picked up, I have no idea what this is for, but essentially my cousin and I walked up the aisles of Bunnings, up and down, all of them, looking for cool stuff that we could add to Star Wars terrain. And some cable, just some electrical cable. It's like $1.25 a meter. I asked for 1 meter. They looked at me a little strangely. So I plan on just wrapping that around the big comms antenna, which is maybe made out of this thing, and I don't know, screw that on there, and suddenly put that next to that warehouse building, and boom, you got some kind of futuristic comms antenna-y thingy. So look, get creative. Start with the basic buildings and add stuff onto them, and it makes them look nice and interesting and gives you a really cool, unique table. So that is I'll get it right this time, the Tabula Rasa line of desert buildings from Knights of Dice. I think they're fantastic. I can't wait to paint them up. I will do a full tutorial video later on, step by step, including painting them up, putting the texture on, which I'm yet to do. I'm going to use wood filler to put on texture and a sponge to kind of stipple it and then flatten it in some areas as well to give it that interesting kind of mud building look. But you can also use granite spray to give them just a little bit of texture, but that was quite expensive, so I thought I'd do it my way. So, thanks for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed, you've learnt something, given you some ideas for your own terrain. Definitely check out Knights of Dice and their Tabula. The kids are screaming in the background, excellent. Check out Knights of Dice and their Tabula Rasa line if you want something nice and simple, or check out their new Star Wars specific line, the name of which I can't remember right now, but I'll definitely put a link in the YouTube description area that will show you there. So they've got a specific Star Wars range themselves, which are perfect and have all the sci-fi stuff already included. So I will be getting some of them as well, but I'll just do different things with them and use them for different tables. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and may the Force be with you.